What's going on YouTube? It's Eli with Common Sense, and today I'm bringing another Middle Eastern fragrance video. You guys seem to really like Middle Eastern fragrance videos, and honestly, I'm loving the fragrances that I'm picking up. Today I'm going to be covering Lattafa's Pride Eternal Oud. I've been really curious to try this one out, and I've been actually requested this one by the person on screen. Don't remember the name off the top of my head, but they told me to pick it up, and so I listened. But anyway, today we're going to be reviewing Eternal Oud by Lattafa Pride. So let's get into it. The moment you've all been waiting for is here. This is probably the largest fragrance presentation that I have ever got in my life. It is absolutely beautiful. You got this really cool kind of satiny box on the outside. You have this really nice raised texture for the tree. And as you can see, it says Lattafa Eternal Oud down there. As always, on the back, you have the reflective holographic kind of logo up there, letting you know that it is a Lattafa fragrance. I believe there was also this kind of plastic sleeve around the whole thing, but I honestly just tossed that because I was really excited to get into this one. We get this really cool fragrance booklet like a lot of the other Lattafa Pride fragrances. As you can see, this included booklet includes all of the Lattafa fragrances. It's sort of like a catalog, and it's a really cool way to see the note breakdown as well as the kind of presentations that they are bringing to these new Lattafa fragrances. So I like collecting these little booklets. I have another one from another Lattafa Pride fragrance that I unboxed, but these are really cool. So here we have this sort of plastic dome, and I'm just gonna lift that out. Wow. Look at this presentation. You have this kind of plastic dome that encapsulates the entire fragrance. Man, this just looks really unique. I don't know if you guys can see this, but right up here, I have a tiny little crack at the top. And that was a problem that some of the other people who reviewed this also brought up, was that there were cracks in a couple little places, just kind of quality control issues. And when it ships, you know, you're bound to get some of those tiny little dings, especially with kind of a thin plastic like this. You just twist it, and then this comes right off. You also have this nice little foam bit protecting the top, the cap. Wow, look at how beautiful and ornate this bottle is. The detail on the cap and just this front kind of metallic area is just breathtaking. You have this really nice kind of indented area in the glass that was molded so that the kind of metallic tree would be able to sit in it, and it looks really cool how it's recessed and it's just kind of protruding out, and it's just really satisfying and adds to the quality of the bottle. But check out that cap. That just looks really interesting, and just the detail here is just unparalleled. So this one, if you guys don't know, is a Maison Francis Kirkjohn's Grand Soir clone, and honestly, I really love the original MFK Grand Soir. It's just a wonderful winter fragrance. It's sweet, it's spicy, oriental, and just really nice and resinous, but it's kind of soft and mature at the same time. But let's see how this one smells. Check this out. I got a whole bunch of blank tester strips on Amazon. See, that's how you know we're going pro. All right, let's give this a spray. Whoo, look at that sprayer. Look at this. That is fantastic. So in the air, you get a nice kind of dusty plum. It's fruity. It's a little bit like kind of dried dates almost, but you also get kind of a warm oud at the same time. One thing I noticed is that I am not getting a blast of alcohol like I have done with some of the cheaper Lattafas and some of the cheaper just fragrances in general. It's just blended really nicely. Like, I don't get any of that cheap alcohol smell at all. So this one, it's sweet, resinous, kind of oriental vibes. It's soft, it's mature oud, not overly intense. I'm also getting a little bit of like just kind of powdered sugar, powdered vanilla, and kind of gourmandish fruity vibes, if that makes sense. So up top, we have listed grapefruit and plum, and middle notes of orchid and heliotrope. And in the base, we have vanilla, amber, oud, benzoin, tonka bean, and labdanum. So as I'm smelling this, at least in the kind of top notes, you know, the kind of initial spray, I'm getting a nice kind of earthy, almost a wheat-like kind of gourmandish vibe, kind of a natural sweet baked vanilla with some nice kind of oriental florals in this. The vanilla and the kind of spices are really strong up top, and I don't get a whole lot of that grapefruit up top. I get a little bit of that plum, but as it kind of dries down, it kind of mellows out and becomes a little bit darker. Some people have mentioned that you get a slight medicinal vibe from the plum and the oud combination. I kind of see what they're saying, but it is not at all like a super strong synthetic medicinal vibe here. This is balanced and warm at the same time. Yeah, that amber just kind of makes it smell really nice, kind of airy, kind of warm and aromatic, and I love amber in fragrances. The labdanum and the benzoin here give just a little bit of a nice leathery kind of spice to this, almost like a suede leather, but with some nice warm spices down there. Also, that vanilla and the tonka keep it nice and really sweet and kind of powdery. One thing I was kind of curious about was the oud here, because it was listed, and I know with some of the Lattafas and other Middle Eastern fragrances, the oud can come off a little bit harsh and kind of headache inducing, but here it's done really nice. It's kind of soft, it's a little bit more Western, if that makes sense. It's kind of subdued and just a nice mass-pleasing oud and not crazy loud and in your face. Yeah, that heliotrope gives a nice nutty kind of floral nuance to it, and the orchid blends really nice with that amber. It's just not overly floral, but it adds to the softness and just kind of keeps things a little bit mellow and just kind of soft. The notes blend really well, especially on paper and on skin, and actually I have worn this all day today, so I do know how it performs on the skin and how that differs from the strip. We're gonna go ahead and test a little bit of this on the skin. Man, that atomizer works wonders. That is one of the best atomizers I've ever used, honestly. So what's funny is on skin, when you spray it at first, you get a little bit more of that medicinal vibe, but it kind of mellows down pretty fast. Not a whole lot that's different. It just smells really nice and pretty much the same, at least on the opening. I actually have the dry down on this one on my right arm as well as this kind of strip. So I'm gonna compare those two. What's interesting is as it dries down, you lose sort of the kind of citrus plum vibe up top, and it dries down to a really nice woody sweetness at the bottom. The benzoin, the vanilla, the tonka still cut through, but it gives a nice cinnamon spice impression. Yeah, really you're just kind of left with that vanilla, benzoin, amber, and that tonka. The oud still cuts through a little bit, but it's not as in your face. It's smooth. Again, it's that kind of Western smooth, mass-pleasing oud. And you almost get like, I know it's not listed, but I almost get like a little bit of a tobacco vibe from it too. It's just kind of dark and really warm and spicy. It's still really, really nice and sweet about 8 hours later, and it radiates really, really strong. Like today I ran a couple errands and I still caught myself catching whiffs on my arm every now and then, and it kind of gave me a smile every time I smelled it because I was just blown away. I think anybody above the age of like 20, you know, can wear this. That's just kind of what I get. It's a little bit warm, it's kind of gentleman-like, and honestly I could see people wearing this, you know, to family gatherings or on a date night in some of this cooler weather, because it does punch through that cold and it lasts a really long time, even 8 to 12 hours later. So it lasts all day. You can spray a few times in the morning and you will smell this later into the day. I paid like $39, $40 for this 100 ml bottle, but if I saw this at like sort of a niche perfumery, you know, like in LA or somewhere, I could easily see this selling for $275, you know, $300. The performance is wonderful. It's presented wonderfully. And honestly, this is one of the best bargains for the price. All in all, I'd have to say this is definitely a wonderful clone of Grand Soir. I don't own Grand Soir, but I've smelled it many times and I've worn it on skin. And it's one of my favorite winter fragrances from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. I think this really captures that kind of sexy, warm, gourmandish nature of the original without smelling overly synthetic and doing it all under like $50. That's insane. That's mind-blowing to me. I am blown away by the Lattafa Pride line. This one is definitely one of my favorite Lattafas that I've ever purchased. The Pride line really steps up their production game in the presentation and the quality of the juice, because you don't get that kind of synthetic alcohol vibe up top when you spray it. It just immediately smells like the fragrance compounds in here, and you don't have that synthetic chemical vibe. I would probably rate this a 9.5 out of 10 for Eternal Oud. The only thing I would ding it just a little bit for that plastic dome, because it cheapens the look a little bit, but I see why they did that, probably to protect it in shipping and to make sure that it doesn't rattle all over the place and you don't ship that beautiful cap up top. But I really appreciate the time that they spent in creating such a really cool, unique bottle, the long-lasting juice, and just wonderful bang for your buck deal for this prize, and I tip my hat to Lattafa. So that wraps up today's video. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys sticking around and leaving comments. If you like this video, leave a like, and if you own this fragrance, let me know how you like it, or leave some recommendations down below for me to check out. You guys are awesome, you're killing it, and I can't wait to make my next one. My name is Eli with Common Sense, and until the next time, bye-bye. I know you guys can't see it, but off to the side, this is what my room always looks like for my videos, my reviews. This is my life.